Hello and welcome to EPG Pathshala on criminology. My name is Kumar Askand Pandey and I am Associate Professor at Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National University, Lucknow. And today I will be talking about sentencing of child offenders. In fact, sentencing is one of the most intricate issues of criminal justice process because sentencing has serious repercussions on right to life and personal liberty of the offender. The courts are tasked with balancing the competing interest of the society at large and that of the convict, and in doing so they are often guided by various theories of punishment. The principles of sentencing generally take into account certain factors, for example, the age, character, past criminal record, physical and mental conditions of the criminal, and circumstances of crime. Way back in 1964, an English court in R versus Smith set the tone for the differential sentencing policy of children, even when the rights of children were not recognized at par with the human rights. The court said that in the case of a young offender, there can hardly ever be any conflict between the public interest and that of the offender. The public have no greater interest than that he should become a good citizen. The difficult task of the court is to determine what treatment gives the best chance of realizing that objective. India, being signatory to the United Nations Convention on Rights of Child of 1989, deals with juvenile delinquency under a separate legal mechanism embodied in the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act of 2015. Under the JJ Act of 2015, a child in conflict with law or a delinquent juvenile is not amenable to adult criminal justice system except in those cases where the child is in the age bracket of 16 to 18 years and has allegedly committed a heinous offense. For all other offenses punishable with up to 7 years imprisonment, there is a self-sufficient juvenile justice system which provides for inquiry into the alleged offense, and there is no adversarial trial to determine the guilt or otherwise of the child. Even in those cases where the child between 16 to 18 years has allegedly committed a heinous offense, there is a provision for two-stage assessment to determine the delinquent child's mental capacity to stand trial in a children's court. Even if a decision to try a child in the age group of 16 to 18 years as an adult is taken by the children's court, there are severe limitations placed upon the court's discretion in choosing an appropriate dispositional order, that is sentence, for such a child. Persons above the age of 18 years are amenable to adult criminal justice system, and even if young age may be a factor in determining the quantum of punishment, theoretically persons above that age may be punished with any punishment prescribed by law, including death penalty. One may refer to cases such as Javed Ahmed, Abdul Hamid Pawala versus State of Maharashtra, a case of 1983, Dhananjay Chatterjee versus State of West Bengal, case of 1994, Jai Kumar versus State of MP, a case of 1999, Om Prakash versus State of Uttaranchal, a case of 2003, Shivu and another versus Registrar General High Court of Karnataka, a case of 2007, Vikram Singh and others versus State of Punjab, a case of 2010, Atbir versus Government of NCT of Delhi, a case of 2010, Muhammad Ajmal Amir Qasab versus the State of Maharashtra, a case of 2012, Sonu Sardar versus State of Chhattisgarh, case of 2012, where in spite of the young age of the convict, the Supreme Court affirmed death penalty. Now, coming to the learning outcomes of this module, after learning the module, the learner is expected to understand and analyze the rationale behind differential sentencing policy for child offenders, the legislative mechanism providing for a reformative penal policy vis-a-vis child offenders, and the judicial response thereof. The process and procedure to transfer the child offender to the adult criminal justice system and its consequences for the child. The dispositional orders that may be passed by the Juvenile Justice Board or the Children's Court against a child offender would be understood. Now let's talk about the rationale for differential sentencing of child offenders. While children can commit violent and deadly offences as those committed by adults, their culpability is different on account of their immaturity. Dispositional orders that may be passed against them should acknowledge that substantial difference. Psychologists have long attributed the differences between adults and children to either cognitive or psychosocial differences. Cognitive theories suggest that children simply think differently than adults, while psychosocial explanations propose that children lack social and emotional capabilities that are better developed in adults. Psychological researches have demonstrated that children have a greater tendency than adults to make decisions based on emotions such as anger or fear rather than logic and reason. Studies further confirm that stressful situations only heighten the risk that emotion rather than rational thought will guide the choices children make. The evidence from developmental neuroscience suggests the ability to think rationally and to differentiate between good and evil does not complete before the person is in his early 20s. Maturing of the brain continues until the early 20s in those relevant parts that govern impulsivity, judgment, planning for the future, foresight of consequences, and other characteristics that make people morally culpable. That is the reason why it is now widely recognized that a child offender requires a different approach from that which would be adopted in relation to an adult criminal. This underlines the need to have a differential sentencing policy for persons below the age of 18 years whose cognitive faculties do not reach complete state of development even in the early 20s. The principal aim of differential sentencing of child offenders is to prevent them from reoffending. Sentencing needs to show that the conduct of the child offender is not acceptable and should also address any other factors that may lead to reoffending in future. At the same time, the dispositional order passed on a child offender should also demonstrate the efficacy of criminal law and must restore the confidence of the society in rule of law. Now let's talk about the statutory limitations on sentencing of child offenders, especially the historical and contemporary perspective. In every criminal trial resulting in conviction, the accused is to be punished in accordance with law after hearing him on the question of sentence. However, in cases of child offenders found guilty of an offence, limitations may be placed on sentencing discretion of the courts. Limitations on sentencing of child offenders were incorporated through several legislations, and the law provided that instead of sentencing the accused to any punishment, he may be released after admonition or on probation, either under section 360 of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 or under the relevant provisions of Probation of Offenders Act of 1958. Having regard to the age, a child offender might also be released after admonition if conviction is recorded for the offence of theft, including theft in a building, dishonest misappropriation of property, or for any offence under the Indian Penal Code with not more than 2 years imprisonment or only with fine. In 1989, the UNCRC provided that states parties recognize the right of every child alleged as, accused of, or recognized as having infringed the penal law to be treated in a manner consistent with the promotion of the child's sense of dignity and worth, which reinforces the child's respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms of others, and which takes into account the child's age and the desirability of promoting the child's reintegration and the child's assuming a constructive role in the society. To facilitate the differential treatment of children in all matters concerning them, including judicial proceedings and sentencing, the JJ Act 2000 was given an overriding effect only by way of an amendment introduced in 2006. The JJ Act of 2015 retains this provision in its section 1 clause 4. It is very significant to note that the JJ Act 2000 and the JJ Act 2015 do not use the term sentence or punishment and allow the JJB or the Children's Court to only pass order against a child found to be in conflict with law. Now let's talk about the dispositional orders that may be passed against a child. The JJ Act 2015 provides for 2 sets of dispositional orders that may be passed by the JJB and the Children's Court, depending on the nature of the offence allegedly committed by the child. Age is also a crucial factor, as children between 16 to 18 years may be tried as adult if the JJB, after preliminary assessment, transfers the child to the Children's Court, and the latter also takes a decision to the same effect. For sake of convenience of discussion, the dispositional orders may be divided into 2 categories. Firstly, dispositional orders passed by the JJB against children involved in petty, serious and heinous offences, irrespective of their age. And secondly, dispositional orders passed by the Children's Court against children in the age group of 16 to 18 years on the date of commission of offence. The JJB shall hold a time bound inquiry in terms of section 14 of the JJ Act 2015 for every child in conflict with law who has been produced before it. Such an inquiry shall be conducted for all children alleged to have committed offences irrespective of their nature or the age of the child. If the JJB upon inquiry comes to a conclusion that the child brought before it has not committed any offence, it shall pass an order to that effect, and if it appears to the JJB that such a child is in need of care and protection, it may refer the child to the Child Welfare Committee. If upon inquiry the JJB is satisfied that a child below the age of 16 has committed a petty offence or a serious offence or even a heinous offence, or a child between 16 to 18 has committed a petty offence or a serious offence, the JJB may pass appropriate dispositional orders against such child as provided in section 18 of the JJ Act of 2015. The dispositional orders under section 18 include allowing the child to go home after advice or admonition. This shall be done after appropriate inquiry and counseling to the child and his parents, guardian. Directing the child to participate in group counseling and similar activities. Ordering the child to perform community service under the supervision of an organization, for example an NGO or an institution or a specified person, persons or group of persons identified by the Juvenile Justice Board. Ordering the child or his parents, guardian to pay fine, and in doing so the JJB shall ensure that in case of a working child the relevant labour laws are not violated. It may also order the release of the child on probation of good conduct and place him or her under the care of parent, guardian or fit person as defined in section 2 clause 28 of the JJ Act of 2015. The parent, guardian or the fit person is required to execute a bond for the good behavior and well-being of the child. The maximum period for which a child may be put on probation cannot exceed 3 years. The JJB may also order the child to be released on probation of good conduct and place him or her under the care and supervision of any fit facility as defined in section 2 clause 27 of the JJ Act of 2015, or may order the child to be sent to a special home as defined in section 256 of the JJ Act 2015 for a period not exceeding 3 years. The special home is under an obligation to provide reformative services to the child, including education, skill development, counseling, behavioral modification therapy and psychiatric support during the stay of the child in the special home. If the Juvenile Justice Board is of the view that placing the child in a special home shall not be in their interest or in the interest of other children in the special home, it may order the child to be placed in a place of safety as defined in section 2 clause 46 of the JJ Act of 2015. It is important to note that the JJB may also choose a combination of orders to be administered to a child found to have committed an offence. In addition to the orders that we have just mentioned, the JJB may also pass orders in terms of section 18 clause 2 of JJ Act, including orders to attend a school or attend a vocational training center or attend a therapeutic center, or prohibiting the child from visiting, frequenting, or appearing at a place specified by it, or to attend a de-addiction program where the offense allegedly committed by the child in the age group of 16 to 18 years is a heinous offense. Section 18 clause 3 of the JJ Act 2015 authorizes the JJB to pass an order of transfer of such child to the children's court for trial as an adult. The order to transfer the child to the children's court can be passed only after a preliminary assessment as provided in section 15 of the JJ Act 2015 has aimed at assessing the mental and physical capacity of the child to commit such offense, his ability to understand the consequences of the offense, and also the circumstances in which the offense was committed. If the JJB upon preliminary assessment is satisfied that the child should not be transferred to the children's court to be tried as an adult, it shall proceed to deal with such child in accordance with the procedure prescribed for inquiry and may pass a dispositional order as provided in section 18 of the JJ Act of 2015. It is important to note that the JJ Act of 2015 was silent on the question of orders that may be passed on a child in the age group of 16 to 18 years alleged to have committed a serious offense but not transferred to the children's court on account of mental and physical incapacity, etc. However, under Rule 11 of the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Rules 2016, the Juvenile Justice Board may proceed to pass orders against such child as provided in section 18 of the JJ Act 2015. The JJ Rules 2016 were notified by the Government of India in the Official Gazette on September 21, 2016. Now coming to the dispositional orders by the Children's Court, as we have seen that the JJB may, after preliminary assessment, take a decision to transfer a child between the age of 16 to 18 years alleged to have committed a heinous offense to the Children's Court for trial as an adult. However, the Children's Court may further decide about the mental suitability of the child to be tried as an adult and may take any of the two courses. First, it may decide that there is need for trial of the child as an adult in accordance with the provisions of the Code of Criminal Procedure. In this case, it may pass appropriate orders after trial subject to sections 19 and 21 of the JJ Act 2015. In passing the dispositional orders, the Children's Court is obligated to consider the special needs of the child, the tenets of fair trial, maintaining the child-friendly atmosphere during a trial. Alternatively, the Children's Court may decide that there is no need to try the child as an adult and thereupon may conduct an inquiry as a Juvenile Justice Board and pass appropriate orders in accordance with the provisions of section 18 of the JJ Act of 2015. Section 19 of the JJ Act 2015 does not mandate imposition of punishment as may have been prescribed under the provisions of applicable penal law, including the Indian Penal Code 1860. This section contains 4 directions for the Children's Court while passing dispositional orders where the child is found to have committed a heinous offense. First, the Children's Court shall send the child to a place of safety for any period that it deems appropriate. Second, the Children's Court shall ensure that the place of safety provides for reformative services, including educational services, skill development, and alternative therapy such as counseling, behavior therapy, and psychiatric support. Third, it must direct the probation officer or the district child protection unit or a social worker to evaluate the progress of the child in the place of safety and to ensure that the child is not ill-treated in any form. And fourthly, the Children's Court shall direct that a child in a place of safety upon attaining the age of 21 years shall be transferred to a jail, that is an adult prison. It has been emphatically observed by the Supreme Court in the context of JJ Act 2000, of course, that even if the JJB comes to the conclusion that a child offender has committed an offence, he cannot be sentenced and sent to a prison. The case Kalu versus State of Haryana of 2012 may be referred in this regard. It was further observed in this case that section 20 of the earlier JJ Act enabled the court to consider and determine the juvenility of a person even after conviction by the regular court, and also empowered the court while maintaining the conviction to set aside the sentence imposed and forward the case to the Juvenile Justice Board concerned for passing appropriate orders or a sentence in accordance with the provisions of the JJ Act of 2000. Even when the child in the age bracket of 16 to 18 years who has allegedly committed the heinous offence is transferred to the Children's Court for trial, restrictions have been placed on the Children's Court as to the orders or sentences that may be passed, and the emphasis is on the rehabilitation. Even after ordering the child offender to be placed in a place of safety, Children's Court is enjoined with a duty to keep track of his development and reformation process in case the term of a stay in the place of safety lasts beyond the age of 21 years. In such cases, the Children's Court shall devise a mechanism for follow-up of the youth's behavior and conduct by the probation officer or the district child protection unit or a social worker or by itself to evaluate if the child has undergone reformative changes and if the child can be a contributing member of the society, and for this purpose the progress records of the child under subsection 4 of section 19 of the JJ Act 2015 along with evaluation of relevant experts are to be taken into consideration. This follow-up mechanism is an important process in deciding the future course of action against the child sentenced by the Children's Court, which on the basis of the evaluation report may decide firstly to release the child on such condition as it deems fit, which includes appointment of a monitoring authority for the remainder of the prescribed term of a stay, or secondly that the child shall complete the remainder of his term in a jail. The state governments are under an obligation to maintain a list of monitoring authorities and monitoring procedures for this purpose. A very important restriction on Children's Court's power to deal with a child offender is that in no circumstance a sentence of death or non-remissible life imprisonment shall be passed against a child offender. This translates into the maximum sentence of life imprisonment subject to remissions as per the laws. However, it is disheartening to note that the JJB and the children's courts are acting in a mechanical manner against the spirit of the JJ Act 2015 in dealing with the cases of children falling in the age bracket of 16 to 18 years and accused of heinous offences. The JJB seldom goes beyond the issue of nature of the offence, and in all cases where a child below the age of 18 years but above 16 years is alleged to have committed a heinous offence, the case is transferred to the children's court, and the latter deals with such a child as an adult. Significantly, under section 16 of the JJ Act of 2000, that the earlier JJ law, a child offender could not be awarded sentence of life imprisonment in any circumstance. Now, coming to a case study, recently in April 2017, a children's court in Jhabua district of Madhya Pradesh tried 2 minors as adults and convicted them to life imprisonment for committing murder on Feb 28th, 2017. Matter dates back to December 5, 2016, when 2 16-year-old children had attacked another 14-year-old child with a knife in broad daylight and inflicted 8 wounds on the victim over a fight regarding money. The victim, a student of class 9th, was returning from school when the incident took place. The victim died within few hours of the incident at the government hospital in Jhabua district and told his brother about his attackers before he died. The 2 accused children, of course, were arrested the next day and weapons were seized from them. When the matter was brought before the JJB, a social investigation report was submitted by the probation officer stating that both the convicts were addicted to drugs and had also had a criminal history. Based on the report of the probation officer, the JJB handed over the matter to the children's court on January 4 this year, and the court sentenced them to life imprisonment on February 28, 2017. However, an appeal was moved to the Madhya Pradesh High Court against the judgment of the children's court on the ground that the children's court had ignored to provide a proper care plan for the convicts without following the procedure for their care till they attain the age of 21 years and without fully appreciating the social milieu in which the crime was committed. The one of its kind case from Jhabua is not an exception, rather it depicts the stark realities of the working of the JJ Act 2015. However, the JJ Act 2015 and the intention of the Parliament cannot be faulted, and if implemented in letter and in spirit, the law will be able to achieve the delicate task of maintaining the balance between the society's need for protection from offences and the need of a child to have another chance. Moreover, a child offender is not amenable to preventive detention laws in any circumstance, and proceedings under Chapter 8 of Code of Criminal Procedure cannot be instituted nor any order be passed against a child under this chapter. A child who may have committed an offence in concert with one or more adult persons shall not be tried jointly with such adult, even when proceedings are on in the JJB or the children's court, and it is found that any person being inquired into or tried is not a child, such person shall be tried separately and not with the co-accused child. A child below the age of 16 years who is found to be in conflict with law shall not suffer from any disqualification attached to conviction under such law. However, a child aged 16 or above, upon finding of guilt in terms of section 19 clause 1 of the JJ Act 2015 will suffer from disqualification attached to conviction. We will now discuss firstly the sentencing of the child offenders for offences carrying death penalty or life imprisonment, and secondly sentencing for offences punishable with non-life prison term. This discussion is important, as although the Children's Court is required to pass only dispositional orders, but the dispositional orders so passed may include a long period of incarceration in either a place of safety or a jail in accordance with the punishment prescribed under the relevant penal law. Significantly, death penalty or life imprisonment without possibility of release of child offender has been completely barred from the sentencing options available to the JJB or the Children's Court under the JJ Act of 2015. The position was slightly different under the JJ Act of 2000, as even life imprisonment of any kind, remissible or non-remissible, was completely barred. This is in consonance with Article 37 Clause A of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which stipulates that capital punishment or life imprisonment without possibility of release shall not be imposed for offences committed by persons below 18 years of age. But there are notable exceptions to this principle of youth moulding the sentencing discretion, and a court determined to weed out criminality may choose to weed out the criminal even if the criminal is arguably a child. In Ramdev Chauhan versus State of Assam, the appellant was denied the benefit of the JJ Act of 1986 despite raising the plea of the young age, and was awarded death penalty. Recently in Mahendra Singh and others versus State of Rajasthan, a case of 2015, the appellant was convicted for the offences under sections 148 and 302 read with section 149 of IPC. The Supreme Court noted that since it is not disputed that appellant Mahendra Singh was less than 18 years of age on the date of incident, he is entitled to the benefit of section 20 of the JJ Act of 2000 to be dealt with by the JJB. Beyond the threshold of 18 years, the offender is liable for all kinds of punishment under the law, including death penalty. Now coming to sentences for offences punishable with non-life term. This has not been adequately discussed by the Supreme Court anywhere, but there are instances where, in spite of a plea of juvenility having been successfully taken, the Supreme Court has bypassed the important and salutary principles of juvenile justice in sentencing in the name of other considerations such as protection of women in the society. In Azhar Ali versus State of West Bengal, a case decided in 2013 by the Supreme Court, the appellant, who was found guilty of having outraged the modesty of a girl by forcibly kissing her, was awarded 6 months prison term. He was denied the benefit of the Probation Offenders Act or the JJ Act of 2000, even when it was proved that he was 16 years old on the date of the offence. Declaring the accused appellant to be a roadside Romeo, the Supreme Court refused to extend the benefit of the JJ Act 2000 on the ground that the punishment awarded was at the lower threshold and that it maintains the balance between the rights of the accused and the concerns of the society for protection of women from such offences. Young age and clean past record are relevant factors in reducing the sentence. These principles, it is hoped, shall be followed by the children's courts in choosing an appropriate sentence for child offenders in the age bracket of 16 to 18 years. Now, coming to the need for the treatment policies that focus on the individual personality, the dispositional order that are passed require a mandatory and must require a mandatory social investigation report prepared either by a probation officer or the investigating officer, police officer who has conducted investigation in the case. To enable it to pass an appropriate order, the report should include all the relevant information about the family, social or economic and psychological background of the youth offender. The report should also specify all life events of the child offender which might have a bearing on his criminality, such as abuse and victimization. Courts sentencing a child offender should adhere to the spirit of the international conventions which emphasize on the importance of avoiding criminalization of young people whilst also ensuring that they are held liable for their crimes. However, all this seems to be a wishful thinking, as noted by the Supreme Court in Hari Ram versus the state of Rajasthan, a 2009 decision, where in the context of JJ Act of 2000 it said that the law which was enacted to deal with offences committed by juveniles in a manner which was meant to be different from the law applicable to adults is yet to be fully appreciated by those who have been entrusted with the responsibility of enforcing the same, possibly on account of their inability to adapt to the system which, while having the trappings of the general criminal law, is however different therefrom. To sum it up, the general principles that emerge from our discussion on sentencing of child offenders may be summarized as: firstly, the principle of primacy of reform; secondly, the principle of fresh start; thirdly, the principle of incapacity; and last but not the least, the principle of best interest of the child. Thank you very much for watching the video.